Good morning, people. Today I want to answer a question. Recently I did a video about success, and in that video I said, well, if you want to be successful, maybe you have to become a different person, because I spoke about successful habits and that you really have to adapt new habits. And so the person asked me, so do I need to change my identity? And that question was asked in the spirit of identities are rigid and they make us who we are, so why do I need to change it? And today I want to answer that question because it is my belief that some identities tend to be a bit more rigid than others, but we are constantly forming and reshaping our identities as we go along, sometimes on a daily basis. Why? Because identities are shaped by our beliefs. Our beliefs are shaped by the way we make meaning of the world around us and ourselves in the world, and even in our interaction with other beings as we live on this earth plane. So we are constantly forming meaning, and this meaning informs our beliefs, and our beliefs simultaneously informs our identity and our place in the world. So I don't believe that identities are particularly rigid and unchangeable, and that we are losing them when we adapt new habits in order to become successful. I also believe that new information informs our beliefs and changes our habits and our identities simultaneously. For example, we used to, some people tend to think that, spirituality is not important. They do nothing with their spiritual life. And so now it is becoming more and more evident that our spiritual life is important. In fact, scientific studies are also colliding with the spiritual world and giving more meaning to the spiritual world, as well as the spiritual world giving meaning to these scientific studies. So there is a joining of these two different paradigms, so to speak. Because of that, there are more people who are becoming spiritual, more people who are adapting spiritual practices. So their identities have changed as a result, and it doesn't hurt them. It just makes them better people. There are also studies which have shown that life is not about competition. It's not a dog-eat-dog world. It really isn't. And so this type of identities are now changing. People are becoming more supportive. People want to do good. Why? Because these studies tend to inform our beliefs about ourselves here on earth, and these beliefs inform our identities and inform our habits as a result. And so that's how you see, when our beliefs inform our habits, we change our identities. Our identities don't necessarily are not necessarily rigid. They're not necessarily they're more rigid identities, such as I'm male or she's female. You're a mother. Unless a child dies, then you cease to be a mother. But then these ones tend to be a bit more rigid. And even with these ones, our sexual identities, for example, sometimes people change them. Yes, they do. So even the rigid ones, we change them. So identities are basically stories that we tell ourselves. And if you tell yourself a different story, if you form new beliefs, especially when you realize that certain habits are important for success, and you form these new habits, which are essentially coming from our beliefs, new stories about yourself, you can adapt and change your identity without feeling guilty or without feeling that you're losing yourself, because you do it every day. We do it every single day. We make meaning of the world around us. We make meaning of the people who come in our lives. We make meaning of the way they treat us. And these are all our meanings, and they inform our beliefs. And the beliefs inform our habits, or the way we react. And these inform our identities at that moment. So please don't feel like you're losing your identity. What you're doing, you're transforming yourself and you're becoming a better version of yourself in particular areas that you want to achieve results. It could be in your weight, it could be in your health, it could be in your career, could be in your love life, you name it. So in fact, you need to identify successful habits in these particular areas, adapt them, change your belief, change the stories that you tell yourself, and then you can talk about becoming successful. And that's the answer that I want to give to that question. Do I need to change my identity? Yes, you have to change your identity, but don't be fearful of changing your identity, because your identity is just a construct that you form by the information that you get and by the way you make meaning of the world. So don't be scared of changing it. You can tell a different story to yourself. Thank you. Bye-bye.